Welcome back to NHL Tonight. The notable trades on Wednesday. And you know the deadline is Friday. But early shopping has been a theme. Let's welcome in Dave Pagnotta, our insider. You've been all over this, and we appreciate your insights. Let's start with the moves we just saw. That screen, which ones of those gave you pause, made you think?
Well, the Casey Middlestat for Byron Bowen, that deal, Byron, excuse me. That deal certainly caught a few people off guard. We know that Buffalo is looking at potentially moving out Middlestat, trying to make a hockey-type trade, talent for talent. He's an RFA with arbitration rights, due for a hefty raise. And that was something that they had been exploring a little bit. But Colorado just kind of lurking in the weeds, sneaking around, and they pull off this deal. They bring in Sean Walker to help supplement the decor and help bolster the blue line. In that one, another situation that kind of came out of nowhere, at least from a lot of the talk. So they've been certainly fishing, looking around. I suspect that they're not done yet. I think they're looking at a couple other potential moves. But bringing in Middlestat as a new 2C and bringing in Walker, a veteran presence on that back end, really stabilizes things for Colorado. Really impressed by what they were able to do there. Tarasenko wanted to go to Florida. A lot of people questioning the return. He had a full no trade, basically up to him. He lives there in the offseason as well as his summer home. So that was just a natural fit for him.
I'm always intrigued when teams go stealth mode and pull off something that hasn't been in the rumor mill. That leads us to this next question. I'm thinking about Jake Guentzel. What big moves can we expect to see next?
Yeah, well, Tony, they're still talking. Pittsburgh is still evaluating some of the offers and having conversations with teams going into the later part. We're getting into the evening hour here today. And they're still evaluating options. They're still having conversations with teams with respect to Jake Guentzel and where he's going to potentially end up. He's waiting too. He wants to know what's going to happen here. And they, yesterday they wanted to have all offers on the table. They wanted to have a good sense, Kyle Dubas and his staff, as to where things were going to go and what was going to be available to them. Sounds like things have carried out throughout the course of the day with respect to Jake Guentzel. You're looking at teams like the Carolina Hurricanes, the New York Rangers, in on him. The Vegas Golden Knights, depending what time of day you ask, one time they're out, the next time, not so much. Edmonton lurking as well. Vancouver would love to get their hands on this guy. And then you have some other teams like Florida and a couple others that are kind of poking around to see if maybe there's something that could potentially fit there. But this is a player who's on an expiring contract. He's a pure rental. He's not going to sign an extension unless something has changed in the last 10 minutes. He's not going to be signing an extension with the club. He's going to look towards July 1. So teams understand that he is a pure rental. We could see some fireworks happen with respect to Pittsburgh and Guentzel later this evening, as the Penguins definitely want to get this done so they can focus on other business. They got a lot more guys that they're talking about.
I love that you're up to the minute and said if it hasn't changed in the last 10 minutes, that's awesome. How about the goalie trade market? Quieter than we expected. Will we see a trade involving a netminder before Friday's deadline?
If we're expecting one of the big boys, Tony, like a Markstrom or Saros or even John Gibson, it's probably unlikely. You're more looking at somebody like a Jake Allen on Montreal with 1 year on his deal, or an Alex Nedeljkovic, who's mentioned Pittsburgh having other business. He's out there and in conversations as well. Kaapo Kähkönen out of San Jose. But, Markstrom is still somebody that New Jersey would love to get their hands on. They just aren't able to figure things out financially, and it's not about Calgary retaining, because that's off the table. They don't have interest in Vitek Vanacek, another goalie. He's got another year on his contract. So it doesn't sound like that's changed. As we reported last week, Calgary telling New Jersey and other teams they're going to hold on to Markstrom for the balance of the season. If that holds true, if they don't get convinced otherwise, then expect those conversations to carry out in the summer. New Jersey would love to get their hands on him, but that's something, and Alex Holtz, I should mention, was part of the discussion, part of the proposal that was going back to Calgary. This is something that's going to get carried out into the summer. Same with UC Saros as well, Tony, in Nashville. That's going to be something to look at in the summer. They're really high on Askarov, but they're rolling right now. They lost an OT last night. They want to keep things going with Saros and then explore that in the summer. Summer could be big and active. Right now, we'll see guys like, as I mentioned, Nedeljkovic or Allen. And look for Colorado. They're looking as well. Charlie Lindgren in Washington. Should mention him as well. Somebody that Colorado's kind of poked around on.
I'm loving all these names. How about Jakob Chychrun? Possible destinations for him. What are you hearing?
Yeah, some conversations picked up in the last week or so with respect to Chychrun again, and they've escalated a little bit now as teams that are looking at Noah Hanifin are looking at alternative options as well. And Tampa, who is very much in the mix for Noah Hanifin, has circled in and at least made some inquiries with respect to Jacob Chikrin. I think Florida has poked around. There was a brief conversation with Philadelphia as well that hasn't really led to much. But there are other teams, Detroit I would put in there as well, as clubs that are looking at Jacob Chikrin. And those three teams right there, they've got a little bit of cap flexibility. He has another year on his contract. And originally, this is the interesting part here, and things tend to shift as we get closer to D-Day. They were originally looking to do a hockey-type trade if they were going to consider moving Jacob Chikrin. I'm told from a couple clubs, Ottawa's looking at 2 first-round picks or equivalent value for him. So they might take that, or they might take a melee combination of one and the other. But the price is high on Jacob Chikrin, but teams are calling.
Awesome intel as always. David Pagnotta, thanks so much.
You got it. Thanks, Tony.